All right, so several of you guys have asked for an update on what we are doing with our curriculum. So I'm starting out on the blog post I wrote about this because otherwise I don't even remember honestly what we said we were going to do. So California history books, we have done that to some extent, and we ended up joining a charter in October, so we're kind of having to change how we're doing that a little bit because each of the kids has to meet their own grade level requirements. So not doing that as much as I originally expected, but still kind of doing it. For first grade, we are still doing the Memoria Press. We are doing, I don't think I had done this at the beginning of the year, their spelling, traditional spelling, and we're still following the enrichment, first grade enrichment, social studies and science, and read alouds, which is a separate thing. We are still doing that, so that is what we're doing is written. The blossom and root. So basically, I realized that fully doing the animals and plants in 1 year was just, it's not happening. So we are still doing the animals, and what we're doing is, and actually this is the wrong link. Animals, I think, is under third grade. Fourth grade is physical science and anatomy. We're sticking to animals and we're doing the picture book approach. So if you watch this video, I think I talk about that more there, or maybe in another separate video, I'm not sure. But we're going to do plants next year, and I'm going to do the picture book approach again. That is working very well. I'm doing it for 2 of my students, and we're doing a lot of picture books from other places as well, but I'll save that conversation. So all of that is which is to say we're still doing animals, blossom, and root. Next year we're going to do plants, blossom, and root. Moving beyond the page math, we definitely stuck with this and we finished it. So we're now working on 6 through 8. I'm still loving it. I still post about it on Instagram. Literature and history picture books. If you sign up for the CMEC, they have a separate database of supplemental, historical, and other picture books. I've shared some of those on YouTube. I did a library book haul. I'm loving that this year. Probably going to stick with that for next year as well. So that's first grade. So basically pretty close to what we planned with some adjustments. Fourth grade, core knowledge history. We're still doing that to some extent, but the books are a lot thicker in fourth grade than they are in first grade. The readers, which I got last year, were for first grade. So we don't do those as much. And I still recommend them. I still think they're great, but we're now having to do studies weekly because we're with the charter and we have to cover the California state standards. I don't love having to do that every week, but it checks the box, gets the job done. So basically I do that for the charter, and then I also do the core knowledge, and I also do some other things like CMEC books. Ambleside Online, to be honest with you, it's not really happening. The books are very long, very dense, not really working out great for someone who's a very active person and wants to be playing baseball, basketball, rollerblading, running, jumping, all of those things. It's not really working out so good. The books that do work are the ones that are high attention, that are, in his interest area. We did end up doing the entire book of Holes, which if you haven't read it, it's like 300 pages long. Like, I did not know it was such a long book. And that was through Moving Beyond the Page. Someday I hope to make a video about that unit. It was really good, very positive, but a lot of reading comprehension questions. So anyway, we still have the books from Ambleside Year 3.5 on his shelf. We just really haven't gotten into them. Fourth grade science student readers, we're not doing those. I covered this in my most recent core knowledge video. They're very dense, very sciencey, which is great, right? But again, if you have someone that doesn't want to sit still and hear about the different wavelength lengths and what this means, and it's very long, and the activities are separate, and the worksheets are, boring for a 9-year-old basically. So just didn't really work out. What are we doing instead? We ordered Bookshark Level D Science, which I have posted the unboxing for. That's working out really great. It uses the Usborne illustrated encyclopedias by subject. It covers lots of different animal science, which the student is very interested in, which is why the blossom and root science is working. And I do read those picture books to him as well, but he is doing a fully separate science, which is the Bookshark Level D. And sorry, this link's broken. They just redid their site, so I'll have to go back and fix that. Memoria Press States and Capitals set, he's still doing that. That's working great. And he does that on a daily basis, and I really like it. Moving beyond the page math, 7 to 9, we are in either unit 6 or 7, which is fractions. Also, the charter wanted us to order. So I wrote earlier, I had just purchased the first semester. So we finished the first semester and then through the charter purchased the second semester. And we're well into that. And the charter also wanted us to get the next level up, which is 8 to 10. And it covers a lot of the same concepts, but more in depth. And so what I've found is, we introduced fractions, and because he's older, he's just zooming through it. So instead of doing it when they're younger and then them having a harder time. So I think we might be able to get to 8 to 10 by the end of this year, but I'm not in a rush. So that is that. Waldorf stuff. I forgot to mention this for my first grader as well. We started doing classes through the charter, or paid for by the charter, but they're through a vendor called Lotus and Ivy, which is a Waldorf online school. They also have in-person pods in the Sacramento area. So both my first grader and my fourth grader are doing 3 classes a week, which is a lot. And I'm kind of learning from that, how much class time is too much. They're on Zoom. They're about an hour, 15 minutes to an hour. So they each have their own language arts and math skills class twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday, and they're both doing their own wet on wet watercolor class on Mondays. And it's on Zoom with students in their own grades. And the reason we decided to do that, aside from the charter, paying for it, is we had a family situation where I didn't know if I was going to be as available, and I wanted to make sure that it was kind of like a backstop thing. Now that we've gotten through that, I see that it's not necessarily something that would be needed, but they're learning a lot. Especially my fourth grader has been doing lots of writing, and they have a lot of small group breakout rooms, and it's been really positive. And I talk about that more on Instagram, so we'll just move on. The other Waldorf stuff, I haven't done it. Planning to do botany next year, and planning to do some other 5th grade and 2nd grade Waldorf stuff, but I'll talk about that in later videos. 7th grade, Ambleside Online Year 6, so he finished that, and we moved on to Ambleside Year 7, which I had shared in the spring book infusion. He really likes that format. He likes having the week laid out for him and having it like a checklist, and I pick books that I think he's gonna like. We don't do all of the Ambleside online books, and we don't do any of the Christian books, but I've talked about that before. Memoria Press Geography 2 set, he zoomed right through that, and I'm planning to get him actually I already have, but I'm going to get him the student book for the Geography set 3 for next year. Memoria Press Literature, he is doing Adam of the Road, and I also got, I think, The Door in the Wall, so he'll move on to that next, and that's working out really well because, again, it's very straightforward. Read this, answer these questions. That's worked much better than I ended up getting, also not on this list, the Oak Meadows 7th grade literature, and that was kind of too amorphous, too many moving pieces. He didn't really like that, and also not all of the books are appealing, which, there's something to be said for doing books you don't want to do, but when there are all these books that are with a female protagonist and in a particular history period, not to say that they all are, but I think you guys know what I'm saying. So anyway, Classical Academic Press Latin for Children, that's not happening. This student is preparing for their bar mitzvah, and he's doing Hebrew tutoring, and he's going to Hebrew school, so that is what he's doing for language. Also, once we joined this charter, he decided that he wanted to do engineering and technology, and those are 2 separate classes, and so he now has to produce work samples for those 2, and so that was why we ended up doing, if you saw the haul where we got like the hydraulic arm, and we got these Kiwi crate kits and all this other stuff, we're not doing a foreign language for school purposes now. Mr. D Math Live, still doing that, loving it. Next year he'll be in algebra in 8th grade. The CMEC, he's read some of the books, but again, a lot of them are about the Holocaust, which is like not pleasant to dwell on. So he's expressed not wanting to read those, which is fine. Eventually, he'll get to them, but he's not into those for now. So he's not particularly doing too many CMEC books that I can remember off the top of my head. The core knowledge world history, that's what he ended up doing. That's what he likes. And it's worked out really great. So as a result, we're doing the core knowledge American history next year, and we're going to try the physics. And then this is the video that I had made about that haul. Bookshark Eastern Hemisphere, it worked out okay. This student's not obsessed with reading, so that's really a lot of reading and comprehension questions and doing the Journey to the Eastern Hemisphere notebook and map work. It was just really a lot, especially with everything else, and he didn't love it. So he did read several of the books, and he ended up preferring the core knowledge. And I think this student particularly likes the textbook approach, but not the public school textbook approach, the homeschool textbook approach, which is like very interesting content, lots of pictures, lots of interesting information, not dry or boring, and very short and condensed. So we ended up dropping the Bookshark Eastern Hemisphere. Whoops, where was I? Brave Rider Arrows, we are working slowly through those books. We're reading them together, and then I'm doing the mechanics and literary elements and all that. Those haven't worked out well with almost any of my kids independently. So what has worked is the Memoria Press literature guides. So we're doing the Memoria Press literature guides for independent work, and I am having him read a couple of past year's Brave Rider Arrows, which I announced in one of these videos I made, I think the 7th grade video. If you want to see, there's a couple of books in there, Refugee, and I can't remember what else, but he is reading a couple of those, but they're just for reading. I'm not having him do comprehension or writing work with those. So we're kind of doing Brave Rider Arrows. I wish my student was more amenable to doing them independently, but it's just not working. So we're doing other things and incorporating those books as we can. And then Key Stage 3 German, basically once he started having his Hebrew tutoring every week, he dropped the German. It was like just too much. And that is 7th grade. And as for Waldorf resources, I don't even know why I wrote that. I don't remember what I was thinking. I have these other books, maybe Age of Discovery, Age of Exploration is what I was thinking of by, I think, Jacob Strait. Those are just not happening. And I tried putting him also in the Lotus and Ivy class, but charters have this weird rule where they have to do background checks for teachers now. I think it's required by law. I don't know. But the 7th grade teacher is not based in the U.S., so she's in Ireland, and it didn't work out. So that was kind of upsetting. But anyway, moving on, 9th grade. So this student is now doing full-time online charter school stuff. So everything here is inapplicable, but I'll talk about what we did first semester. So for the Brave Rider Boomerangs, I don't think she ended up doing those at all. She did read some CMEC books, although I couldn't recall which ones those were. She really liked the Memoria Press Modern Biology, and she ended up doing the biology class online through the charter when we started in like November, and she said that she felt the Memoria Press Modern Biology really prepared her for that class, and she didn't feel unprepared going into it towards the end of the semester. It was like a really nice transition, and also she ended up referring back to the textbook. The textbook is from a secular publisher. I believe Holt is the author, so it would make sense that a public school biology class would be, similar. And all of her classes are through, I think, Accelerate Education, which is an online platform. So while she did biology, it really worked out well. It was really good. First Start French, she didn't like it. It's all written work, and we do have the CD, but it was kind of awkward using it, or she didn't want to use it, so she ended up doing Duolingo. And then once we joined the charter, she chose to do Spanish instead, which she had done in Duolingo in the past. So she's now in her 2nd semester of online Spanish. Book of the Ancient Greek set didn't really work out. It was an occasional thing, but it was just not something that ended up being a priority. Bookshark American History 1, she really liked it. She would do the reading, she would tell us about it. I think it was good. And this is the Joy Hakeem books, if you aren't familiar. Beautiful Feet, Modern U.S. and World History. She liked that too, but that was really a lot of reading. I think either the first or the second book that you start with is Uncle Tom's Cabin, which, if you aren't familiar, it's like 400 pages long, and it's really dense and very emotionally charged. But it was really good. And I think I talked about this before in my mid-semester update. It really asks hard questions and it encourages critical thinking. And as for the later books, she really liked the ones, I can't remember the author, but he wrote like 5 of the books. One's on Stalin, one's on Hitler. I don't remember the other 3, but she ended up reading and rereading those several times. She really liked, I think especially the Stalin one. She really liked those. So she had just, even before we were with the charter, was reading those books because they looked interesting. So it's still really good. If I had to do this over again, I probably would not do the American history and U.S. and world history. It was kind of too much to do those both together because they're so substantial. And that's something that I didn't know before trying them. So Oak Meadow, The Hero's Journey, this student did not like that. Oak Meadow, I think, is not a good fit for her. If we are not with the charter in the future, I'm going to look for something else. I don't know what. Maybe Build Your Library. She did that in 7th grade and really liked it. It's just something about the structure that just didn't work for her. Also, I would probably do Brave Writer online classes for literature and writing, which is what I have my oldest student doing, and that seems to work out pretty well for everyone. But yeah, it's a great curriculum. It just didn't really work for her. And so that's it. So like I said, she's now with the whole charter thing, so we're not doing any of these things, but that was what we gleaned. Oh, and she also did and is still doing the Mr. D math class because we paid for it, and why not have extra math practice? All right, lastly, my 10th grader. So we started out the year with the CK12 chemistry. It worked out pretty well. One thing that was challenging was we ordered the lab set. I don't know if I already talked about this or not. And it was just kind of challenging navigating between the elemental science lesson plans and the flex text. But it was okay. I might look for other options in the future for if I was doing this over again, though, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. And then, like, if you watch this video, there's these tests and stuff, but those aren't on the flex text. That's a separate thing that you print. And the flex text stuff that's covered in the videos is not the same as the tests. So that's something I'm not sure how to, what's the word? Resolve. So anyway, still doing chemistry, just an online class. Memoria Press, the 9th and 10th grade, she's still doing the literature, which is Romeo and Juliet and Julius Caesar and the Scarlet Letter and some other books I can't remember. We're still doing that. We're still doing the British Tradition #2 and all the poetry that goes along with that. And she's also doing, I don't know if I put it on here. Oh, here's that. So we'll come back up. Oak Meadow, British Literature, she's still doing that. So she's kind of doing 2 separate English curriculums simultaneously. She's doing the entire Oak Meadow British Literature, and then she's doing the entire Memoria Press Literature and British Tradition. Second form Latin, still plugging away at that. Traditional Logic, she finished that after fall semester. So she did that, it worked well, finished it, so I'll give her, the 5 credits, which is how we do it in California. History of Classical Art with Streaming. I don't recall if she finished this or not. I think this is also a semester-long course, but that worked out really well. And then she ended up starting dual enrollment and is doing contemporary art history at the community college. So that was kind of a nice segue from the Memoria Press content. Russian, she's not doing that because she's doing Latin through the charter. So she has to do work samples every week. She has to do a final semester exam, all that stuff. So that's that. Then she's doing Mr. D Math Geometry Live. She's doing the honors version. She will take Algebra 2 over the summer, either with them or the dual enrollment option. And then also just to give the final update, in addition to doing contemporary art history through the community college, which we ended up doing because we couldn't get into anything else. And that will count as her visual art, performing art. She's also taking biological anthropology, which I guess will count as a elective. I'm not really sure if it would be social studies or science or whatever. So she's doing all the classes I told you, plus those 2. And we also signed up for the Brave Writer semester of classes. And I would go click on it, but I'm probably going to end up getting a broken link or something. It's 3 back-to-back classes. The ones we picked are all about essay writing. So the first one she did is called Research and Citation, and they learn about how to assess if links are trustworthy, how do you make these determinations. Then they learned about paraphrasing, they learned about proper citation MLA format. So that was the first class, and they do now have the option to get a grade and a transcript. So she elected to do that, and they give a quarter credit per class. And then in March, she has her second class, which is, I think, called Essay Writing 101. Just a heads up, if you're interested in the semester of classes, it has like a 3-day registration window. And if you don't get in during that, all the classes fill up, and it's like really challenging to get in. So fortunately, we were able to do that, and the charter pays for it. It's really expensive. It's like $600 and something. But they do now have, I think it's called a firm. I'm not sure if that's what they use, where you can break up the payments if you want to do that. And I was talking with someone the other day about this. I really feel like if you take just one Brave Writer course during a semester or even during a year, it's so condensed and so intensive and so good that that's good enough. I don't think you have to do 3 back-to-back classes because their instruction is so effective. So anyway, that is the update for where we are at this spring semester. I hope I covered everything. Sorry, I'm kind of talking fast and you have a boring screen to look at, but that is what we have to work with. Also, apologies for background noise, but I have 6 kids, and that's how life is. So thanks for watching. I'd love it if you subscribed if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video.